Decoding Rumi's Masnavi by Pirjan. How an old man complained of his ailments to a doctor, and how the doctor answered him. An old man said to a doctor, "I am in torment because of my brain." The doctor replied, "That weakness of brain is from age." Said the old man, "There are spots of darkness on my eyes." "It is from age, O ancient Shaykh," said the doctor. "Awful pain comes in my back," said he. "It is from age, O emaciated Shaykh," said the doctor. "Whatever I eat," said he, "is not digested." The doctor replied, "Weakness of stomach also is the result of age." Said he, "When I breathe, respiration is hard for me." "Yes," he said, "it is asthma. When old age arrives, 200 diseases come on." "O fool," he exclaimed, "you have stuck at this. This is all that you have learned from medicine. O crack-brained man, your intellect has not given you this knowledge, that God hath appointed a remedy for every pain. You, stupid ass, from poorness of ability have remained fallen on the ground for want of a sufficient foothold." Then the doctor said to him, "O sexagenarian, this anger and this choler are also from old age. Since all functions and parts of your body are atrophied, your self-control and patience have become weak. He cannot endure 2 words. He cries out thereat. He cannot retain 1 draught. He vomits." The main problem of the human from the mystical view is the self. All our mental illnesses are due to our intellectual identity or the self. In this story, the old man represents someone who has remained in the past. The thought is a dead creature, not present within the moment. The only pain the old man has is the bondage of the self, and his problem is the intellectual identity. Due to the self's dominion, we cannot even accept the truth. Except, to be sure, the ancient that is drunken with God, and in whose inward being there is a goodly life. The most difficult task for a human being is to observe themselves as they are. Self-awareness and intellectual identity are the most important things to look for. Old men in mysticism do not necessarily refer to the elderly. In mysticism, drunkenness has 2 different meanings. There is a kind of drunkenness that is a moral vice and causes the intellect to fade away. This state of the mind takes the place of the conscious mind and is called the drunkenness of the intellect. The second type of drunkenness supports human reasoning. Drunkenness is one of the innate abilities of the human and causes their inner development. But what is the mystical drunkenness that overshadows the human reason? The human mind tries to transform the unknown into known through the process of reasoning, but in a mystical view, there is another concept that can break the frame of mind and change its essence. This concept is not grasped by reason. This concept is called wonder, because it is too great for the human to bear. Attar tells the story of a princess who falls in love with a slave in the court. Their marriage is not possible, and this has depressed the princess. The princess's chaperones try to make her happy and set the stage for the princess to sleep with the slave. They come to the slave and poison him with wine. They then drag him into the princess's room and leave them alone. They stay together until the morning and make love. At dawn, when the chaperones want to get the slave drunk again and get him out of the room, the princess gives a ring to the slave to remember her whenever he sees it. When the slave was poisoned again, the chaperones returned him to his room. When the slave wakes up in the morning, he imagines that he has been dreaming, but suddenly he sees the ring and wonders if the previous night really had happened. This type of drunkenness is called mystical drunkenness. If love is true, it will break the frame of the mind. In Rumi's intellectual discourse, truth is something that has been experienced, and untruth is something only heard and not experienced. A great man who experiences these states avoids attacking. Anyone who understands this drunkenness and wonder will have a serene life. Anyone who has a serene life does not suffer internal complexes. The human psyche is dynamic. Mental experiences are varied, but the thought intervenes and engages in a specific experience. The most painful experiences for the psyche are only transient for it, but they are kept by the thought. The experience of wonder is like the water washing the dirt and mud of the psyche. Only the one who has fallen in love may understand the wonder and its effect. The thought is hungry and insatiable, constantly questioning, but love is well fed and leads the human to the serene life. If you are starting to study the self, be sure to follow the Buddha's advice to be in love once in a while, because this experience breaks down all frameworks. The serene life has different signs. We can never be immune to comparisons and judgments. Sometimes we have a superiority, and other times an inferiority complex. We are captives of the conflict and compromise in life. They are both with us. This conflict exists in all of our personal and social relationships. If we are in conflict with someone, we try to reach a compromise. If there is a conflict, and if compromise replaces it, there will be a cloud of ambiguity. Then our whole lives will be plunged into darkness and ambiguity as we compromise for our own sake. When compromise replaces the conflict, life becomes ambiguous. The main point where there should be no conflict concerns the being and God. Our relationship with the God we believe in is of the same kind. We ourselves must understand the truth of the being or God so that there is no mix of conflict and compromise about it. Sometimes our compromise is due to the fear, but we should never do so for self-knowledge. From the beginning, we must understand something within ourselves to remove ambiguity. In mysticism, intellectual conflict cannot lead to success. If there is a cloud of ambiguity, the human will not form a connection with the being. The conflict must go away for the complexes to be resolved. Observing oneself and being aware of it, along with understanding the wonder world, leads to the serene life. Outwardly he is old, but within he is young. What thing verily is he? He is the saint and the prophet. One of the things lost over time is the childhood innocence. As a child, none of our practices comes from a pre-thought plan, but in adulthood, there may be different complexities. If they are not manifest to the good and evil alike, what is this envy which the worthless bear against them? Jealousy is one of those internal complexities with no cure, but if that drunkenness is understood, there is no trace of jealousy. If we are captive to conflict and compromise, there will be no peace, and there will be constant complexities such as jealousy. And if they do not know them with certain knowledge, what is this hatred and hatching of plots and enmity? And again, if they know of the resurrection and rising from the dead, how should they dash themselves against a sharp sword? He smiles upon you, but do not deem him to be such as he appears. In his inward consciousness are hidden 100 resurrections. Resurrection in the Islamic culture means time and light, because then one cannot conceal oneself from others. Everyone is observed as they are. In this world, no matter how much we live with someone, we can only know some layers of people. But at the resurrection, all of us are exposed. One who understands the drunkenness and wonder lives within the moment and is not a prisoner of thought. Companion of those with mystical drunkenness causes serenity. Hell and paradise are entirely parts of him. He is beyond any thought that you may conceive. As in the Iranian mysticism, sometimes mystics get angry with us, which can make us uncomfortable. Because they always tell the truth, they sometimes do so to shatter our ego. In the universe, ugliness and beauty, or heaven and hell, are together. The human tries to see only what is pleasing to them, but this is the very compromise that creates a cloud of ambiguity or fake happiness. If we make friends with someone while the cloud of ambiguity is rooted in our conflict with them, and we attempt to hide it with compromise, we are experiencing the fake happiness. But if we are only looking for pure beauty, without the existence and shade of ugliness, we will not get it. Beauty and ugliness are not wholly separated. The shadow of the loss of assets always threatens the human. Happiness and wealth are never eternal. Deciding to pick the world according to one's own will cause all the problems. We can only wait, accepting the existing conditions. Heaven and hell are part of the corpus of the being. Heaven and hell are a stream of the being and are merely what we have divided. The mystic is the one who experiences the justice of the being because of his leaving knowledge and personal justice. When we challenge the justice or the mercy of the being, we are caught in the thought. If we have experienced love, we will understand this. One cannot compromise with the being based on the fear of hell just to hide one's conflict. We cannot ask for what we love and forsake what we dislike. The conflict with the being is paramount here, yet when we have no power to remove it, we try to compromise. It is here that many questions arise, and ultimately everything is attributed to God's knowledge. All that you may think of is liable to pass away. He that comes not into thought is God. We never get the answers to these questions through the thought. This flow is not meant to be through the thought. If the being is trying to persuade our thoughts, it will be useless. The thought here is not able to move forward because there are other streams in the human that are capable of understanding the truth of the being. Wherefore presumption at the door of this house, if they know who is within the house? Fools venerate the mosque and endeavor to destroy them, that of the heart. That mosque is phenomenal. This heart is real, O asses. The true mosque is not but the hearts of the spiritual captains. The mosque that is the inward consciousness of the saints is the place of worship for all. God is there. In spiritual schools, one should respect the person rather than the specific forms and rituals. The forms should not be overemphasized. Rumi says the one who sanctifies the forms is a mere fool. Those who claim and exaggerate about the truth are empty. We should not be deceived by their appearance. The truth and the way of heart exist among ordinary people, not among the saints and claimants. Those who are meditating and familiar with it should pay attention to Rumi's suggestion that the mosque is nothing but within the human. If you are sitting in meditation, try to be close to those who have existential warmth. The mosque is within these people. If you want to benefit from meditation, be close to those who have a serene inside. Until the heart of the man of God was grieved, never did God put any generation to shame. Rumi warns us that one must be careful not to break hearts. Within the outward, there is spirituality, and one must open the eyes and observe the spirituality. They were going to make war on the prophets. They saw the body of the prophet. They supposed he was a man. In thee are the moral natures of those peoples of yore. How art not thou afraid lest thou be the same as they? For as much as all those marks are in thee, and thou art one of them, how wilt thou be saved? Moses and Pharaoh are streams within the human, and anyone may be Moses or Pharaoh. If we have the Mosaic attributes, we are Moses, and if we have the attributes of Pharaoh, we are the Pharaoh. If there is ugliness within the human, they can never be liberated.